7 a.m. It's Sunday, the 21st of March. The Montreal St. Patrick's Day Parade will begin in 5 hours. In rain, hail, snow or sunshine, the parade has been running for 192 consecutive years. The St. Patrick's Society, who previously organised the event, handed it over to the United Irish Society in 1929. The United Irish Society is a non-profit organisation, a group of volunteers who make the parade happen. Where do they come from? The majority of the Irish came to Canada in the 1850s. Fleeing the desperate situation in Ireland where the main food source, the potato crop, failed for several years. This situation, mixed with overpopulation, politics, landlord greed and England's apathy, caused both Catholic and Protestant Irish to sell up what they had, to buy tickets on board ships to search for a new life around the globe. Unfortunately, the people were carrying a disease, typhus. In June every year there is a commemorative walk to the Black Rock, a monument to the 6,000 buried bodies of the people who died from typhus during that time.
I mean, I didn't even know, I mean, I knew the history generally speaking. I knew the rock was there. I knew it sat on top of about 6,000 graves, but that was it. But the more and more I got into it, the more interesting it gets. It really is tremendously interesting.
As most of you are aware, what our project involves is working with the City of Montreal to take all this desolate space that you see around you and turn it into a cultural green space. We have a number of reasons or things that we would like to honor with this green space, including, of course, the 6,000 Irish or more that died in 1847 and were buried here, right here. Some of you are probably standing on some of the grave sites. There's certainly bodies buried underneath this stone. The second group that we want to really honor are the Montrealers who went to help these Irish. For example, there was John Mills, who was the mayor of Montreal in 1847. John Mills was not Irish, John Mills was not Catholic, but he went and literally gave up his life helping the Irish, along with the Grey Nuns, the Anglican clergy, the Catholic clergy, British soldiers who were here in Lower Canada at the time. So we want to honor that group. More than 1,000 orphans were adopted by French-speaking families here in Montreal. If the children were young enough, if the children were so young they didn't know their names, many of them adopted the names of their French-speaking family. Others maintained their Irish family name, but have a preference or their first language is French. But it was I can't explain to you how dangerous it was for these French-speaking families to bring these Irish orphans into their homes. I mean, there was a very good chance that any of these young people were bringing typhus into the house, the same typhus that killed the 6,000 plus Irish here and killed some of the people in Griffintown who went to help them. So that's another group that we want to honor. Before the Europeans arrived, the First Nations used this area as a hunting and meeting ground, a very important hunting and meeting ground, where they mainly hunted geese, which is why right behind you over there was a village called, a small community called Victoriatown that most of you know as Goose Village. So there's many, many people and groups that we want to honor. This is a very, very important historical site. We have met with Mayor Coderre, who has told us that he absolutely supports this project and will do whatever he can to make it happen. And I really, really appreciate all of you coming out, first of all, to honor our 6,000 ancestors that died on this spot and to support this park project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fergus. As most of you know who attend this year after year, we like to give the honor of the laying of the wreath to the students of St. Gabriel's School.
Well, actually, I was approached by Victor Boyle to see if I would be involved with this project. But there is a very sad story where a widow, French-speaking widow, 6 children, brought an Irish orphan into her home who had typhus. She nursed him back to health, but she caught it herself and passed away. So in reality, this widow with six kids now had 7 orphans, you know, all of her own child. So it was really sad. So there were a group of them that wanted to take the sheds and push them into the St. Lawrence. So John Mills took it upon himself to protect them and actually put up British pickets around the area. And some of the British soldiers, when they were finished guarding, would go and help the sick. And a couple of them also caught typhus and passed away. The stench, because in 1847 it was what they called the Calcutta summer, one of the hottest summers on record in Montreal. The stench apparently was so bad that at the highest part of the mountain of Westmount you could smell the death. So you can imagine, and 6,000 people, you can imagine even in Montreal today, in our day and age, if 6,000 people suddenly died in one summer, could we even handle it? I mean, with all our modern technology. So it seems to be almost, if not all, the greatest majority were Irish immigrants coming from the Great Hunger. The records are scattered everywhere. The Grey Nuns are the best record keepers, and they did pretty good with some of the orphans. Not all of them, but pretty good with some of the orphans. So they have a name of an orphan and a family that adopted them, which in many, many cases was Francophone family.
We are an organization that started in Ireland in the year 1565, and our main goal at that point was to protect the priests as they were saying Mass at the homes of the faithful. Of course, the Catholic religion at that point was outlawed by Queen Victoria, and the priests were forced to say Mass in hiding. The Hibernians were formed we were originally called the Hibernian Knights, and we would form a perimeter around the location where the Mass was being said to make sure that they weren't attacked during Mass. Now, the Hibernians have been involved in a lot of different Irish cultural things over the years. In 1909, we set the Celtic Cross atop the Telegraph Hill on Grosse Hill in Quebec, just on an island small enough for Quebec City, which was a quarantine station from 1832 to 1921. And what stands there today is a 46-foot tall Celtic Cross, the single highest freestanding Celtic Cross in the world, all done from grassroots donations from Canada, United States, and Ireland.
Hi everyone. First of all, thanks to everyone for showing up today. Great to see such a great turnout. So just to explain what exactly the Gaelic Athletic Association here is in Montreal. If you're looking around, you might see some green jerseys. This is the Montreal Shamrocks jersey. The club has been here since 1948, and we still have some of our members, some of our founding members, still out here marching with us today. Gaelic football and hurling are two of Ireland's most popular sports and some of the oldest sports in the world. Hurling is almost like hockey in the air. It's been called the fastest field sport in the world, and some of you might have seen the clips with a wooden stick and a small leather ball, and basically played in a field 15 against 15. And Gaelic football, like a hybrid of rugby, soccer and Canadian football. We based the club here, obviously it's been around since 1948. It's had a lot of locals. We encourage as many locals as possible to get involved, which is why we're really pushing to support this park. The club has been fighting for a long time to get a ground or a base in the city where we could actually play the games. It's always been a big fight to get a permit or a space to actually play, and no better place than in the heart of the old Irish community in Montreal if we could get a field on this site. Our idea is to encourage as many locals, as many people of Irish descent to get involved and open it to everyone. And hopefully in a couple of years' time we'll see some of the young kids of the neighbourhood kicking Gaelic football or holding a hurling stick and showing them what the hell those mad games are all about.
Since the famine, the Irish are renowned for giving and charity work. The United Irish Society is no exception.
I wouldn't say it's connected to the parade, I would say it's connected to the community. You know, like we want to give, we have the parade, everybody knows we have the parade, it's a huge event. And, but this actually gives back to the community who support the parade, you know. So there's a lot of people out there that need food, you know, we don't know about it. So what happens is we ask different societies to give us names of people. I don't even know any of the names. It goes to our chairperson who takes care of it. She gets the list, she calls them up. She makes the arrangements, and we have all, like I said, we deliver them. I don't know any of them. I get called. I actually got a couple calls already today, thanking me very much for the boxes. So it's always a great feeling. Apparently this has been going on for 48 years. We try to give back to the community. We feed about 60 to 65 families every year. and we have a lot of the community, a lot of the members from different societies. We had the GAA here as well, St. Patrick Society, the FIS, so other societies come and help us pack and deliver. Delivery is I have enough people to pack. Delivery has always been it's a challenge sometimes, especially if the weather's bad. But today we're doing really great. So we've had a lot of people come out this year. I think it's great. It's something that you can give back. Like, thank God, touch wood, I've never been to this position that I would need food from a food bank, but there's a lot of people out there that do. So just to give back to the community, any community.
Well, we basically work with the community and we help represent the Montreal's Irish community through the United Irish Societies. So we participate in events like this, so we get together and we help with Christmas baskets and we go out into the community and just represent the Irish as best we can. I'm at Mount Allison University in New Brunswick, so I'm coming back for the holidays and I definitely wanted to help out somehow with the Irish, so this is what I'm doing.
There was one single person last year, me and my son delivered, and a little bit of touch of reality for my son. It was walked in, it was a cool day like today, and the house was cold. I mean cold, just like it was outside. Hard person done by, and I'm sure she was one of these people that fall through the cracks and mentally handicapped in Montreal and living almost, I'm sure it was a slumlord. Anybody that lives in those living conditions, it's disgusting. Myself, I'm from a family of 12, I knew what it was like growing up where things were a little bit tight, but we never thought I was poor. And this person, just that one experience just blew me away, and my son was like really taken back by it. It was sad, but they're appreciative. They come in, they're thankful, and thank God for Christmas baskets, I guess. And we're just one of many in the city of Montreal. But that's one tradition we like to keep with the UIS. Keep doing it.
My great-grandparents were from Ireland, so going from the infamous potato famine, our family actually moved to Scotland, and my dad emigrated as a little boy of 5 years old. However, my name's Patty McCann, and definitely Irish Catholic family here. I'm one of 7, so my name was even pulled out of a hat. They were running out of names and family names, so definitely we had the influence within the family, plus typical. I have a Danny, I have a Kathy, I've got a Mary. It's, typical Irish names. My official title is Vice President of Parade Organization for the United Irish Societies, but everybody just knows this position as the Parade Director. I call myself the Parade Dictator because I head up a team of 20, and everyone, I have to pull it all together, but everyone has their duties and they just run off and take care of it, and I just have to ensure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And so overall, it's kind of thankless because it's just dealing with all the paperwork, but it is a lot of paperwork, and what comes out of that paperwork is an amazing event. Yeah, we're the longest running consecutive parade in North America. We're coming up on our 192nd consecutive parade. New York City's parade is bigger. It goes on for 7 hours. Yeah, that's a lot of parade, but ours is 3. That's still a long parade. All right, welcome everybody. The agenda is recto verso today because we're so close to parade. I'll just go through the highlights. Actually, the week after parade is when we lock in the date for the following year with the City of Montreal. And then come September, we start our first meeting just to start making sure we have the right people on the committee and seeing that all the angles are covered, as you saw today in our meeting. Officially, we have to say 200,000. Unofficially, on that day 3 years ago when it was 22 degrees, it was closer to probably 750,000 were at the parade. The city meeting with all the department heads will be on February 10th, and it seems that our cahier de charge needs to be almost completely updated, and they've thrown us another curveball that we have to have detour signs all over the parade route, and hopefully that could enlighten us a little bit more on that area. And no parking signs. It's again another outrageous cost. They seem to have held their price from last year, but still it's outrageously high for what we can afford. I have a full-time job, actually. Everyone on the committee, but about 2 have full-time jobs. So we send a lot of emails back and forth, so we kind of look like we're working. But especially leading up to parade day, like right now for the next few weeks, the communication between our team is pretty well daily. And then after the parade and then after the final banquet in April, I have withdrawal, like I've missed hearing from my friends on a regular basis. But going home at night after supper, there's always at least a minimum of an hour of parade work. Weekends, I'm trying to balance my life, which I don't do very well. So I try and say, okay, Saturday morning for 3-4 hours, that's when I'll concentrate on parade. The parade application deadline is February 1st. So then my serious paperwork will start. At the moment, I'll collect parade apps and I'll just put them all together into my spreadsheets on the Saturday. Well, my personal ultimate goal would be to be the parade director of the 200th parade, which is coming down the road really soon. God willing, as they say. But no, with the history we have, and it's such a well-oiled machine, I don't think anyone could stop this parade from happening. Even if I wasn't there, the groups would still show up the Sunday closest without any marshals and do it themselves. Like, that's how well the parade runs.
Thank you so much for coming out to this 60th anniversary Queen Selection evening for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. How's everybody doing tonight? I see it seems like winter has just sort of sucked the joy out of this side of the room. This side not too bad. Maybe this side over here is still falling out. We're going to try that one more time because we've got 23 women just on the other side of that wall that can hear everything that's going on over here. And you know, they're a little nervous. This is a big night for them. And we want to put them all at ease. So, let's try that again. We want to give them a big warm welcome. How's everybody doing tonight?
If you wanted to simplify it, I'm half Scottish, half Irish by descent, but primarily it's from my mother's side. Her last name is Ryan.
I am of Irish descent on both my mother and father's side, with my father's family hailing from Tipperary.
So my dad was born in County Cavan in Ireland.
My grandmother on my father's side is from Dublin City, and my grandfather's from County Mayo.
Well, they certainly are our ambassadors for the Irish season. They end up coming to all of the other society events. They're all so well spoken. That's why they go through this process on the Queen Selection evening. So I have seen girls who have patents and they're saving the world, and everything these young girls do by the age of 22 and 23. I mean, at that age, I had a bar stool downtown. So here I am, I'm listening to these girls thinking they're overachievers like I could never imagine in my whole life. But what that whole evening does, it really separates the girls who are too nervous to talk in front of the microphone. So if they're shaking and they're nervous, their confidence is not coming through, so they get passed over. And a lot of them actually really build up their confidence and show up again next year. And if anything, it's a really great learning curve for themselves. I mean, building up self-confidence in young women is really phenomenal. We've had, you know, lawyer students, engineering students. These girls are so smart. It's really fantastic. And it makes me feel like I really missed my youth. Or maybe not. Maybe I had a really great time.
Well, as just announced, my name is Catherine Paulson, and my Irish heritage predominantly traces back to Portadown, Ireland. It's in the north, just a little outside of Belfast. I say predominantly because my dad is a huge genealogy nerd, and upon request, will provide you miles and miles of paperwork regarding my Irish heritage all throughout Northern Ireland.
I was very moved to hear the contestants, especially one young lady who was talking about her ancestry and the tradition and how they've taught us something, you know. And I could just feel the same thing. We have something that brings us together, and it's one of the things is that we're people who came from Ireland had to struggle to survive. They didn't necessarily come because it was an easy choice. you know, and they were trying to build a better life. And there's always this feeling, and when I'm singing, I know you feel that, you can hear it. There's this pain. So here I am, I've received all this passion and I still have this pain to talk about, and I know why. And it's because we'll never relinquish our identity.
We lived in a very small village in Scotland, and my parents realized there was no opportunity there for us. So at 50 years of age, my father emigrated to Canada in 56 to save the money to bring the 5 children, and we followed in 57. So I grew up in Montreal, decided when I was about 18, I guess, that maybe I could enter this pageant. And I remember the year that I did win, my sister was driving, there was a snowstorm on in Montreal that night, and she was about 9 months pregnant at the time, and she says, if you don't win something tonight, you're walking home. And so I came out, there were 50 girls in the competition that year. And of course, when I saw how many there were, I thought, what are my chances? But anyway, I won, and it was very exciting. And I did marry the prince that I took to the ball.
I've been a member of the United Irish since 1958. And I attended the first Queen's pageant, which tonight they're celebrating the 60th anniversary. I went to number 1 in the Catholics Sailors Club in Old Montreal in 1956, where they had not a crowd like tonight or as many girls, but the Queen was chosen by the loudest clap of hands.
Now please welcome contestant number 5, Carly Meredith. Hey, Carly. If you are chosen as Queen of the St. Patrick's Day Parade, you'll have a unique opportunity to serve as a spokesperson for the Montreal Irish community. As Queen, what aspects and achievements of the Irish community do you think would be important to address?
The first thing I would like to start off by saying is that I think it's well known by everybody here that there's been a certain stereotype in the Irish community regarding being associated with drinking. And I think that every time that we're asked about this, it's going to be a chance for us to, be able to take control of the questions that we're being asked and really put out, the appropriate image that we're, a culture that loves to have fun like many others, and that we're doing it in a responsible way. I had an amazing role model in Sarah last year too, and she was just able to really unify the court, and that was something that I would like to bring to that this year.
What I would be most excited to address about the Irish community is how inclusive it is. The Irish community, we came over as immigrants to a new land, and we helped to build and change Montreal for the better. And I find that as the parade goes on, the expression everyone's Irish on St. Patrick's Day holds true, because we welcome in everyone, no matter what your ethnicity. We want you to come and celebrate the fact that immigrants, we are an immigrant nation. You come in and you help to make this country better. So that's really what the Irish community is about, and I'd love to represent that. Thank you very much. Catherine Colson.
These are the young women that will be representing the Irish community this year.
Our 4th princess is contestant number 12, Miss And Catherine will be picked by Jeffrey Kelly, the Grand Marshal of the Parade, and crowned by Patty
The first parade in Montreal was marched by Irish soldiers stationed in the British barracks in 1760. The Irish fought on both the English and the French sides during the 7-Year War. The St. Patrick's Day Parade is now led out by the Montreal Black Watch Pipe Band.
The regiment itself here in Montreal was raised in 1862, we do know that for sure. There were other units that existed beforehand that came into being, but not as the Black Watch. At first we weren't known as the Black Watch, not until 1905 were we formally known as the Black Watch, but there'd always been a Scottish or Highland tradition with the regiment itself, regardless of the name. The 5th Royals of Montreal, the 5th Royal Scots of Canada, and so on. And they'd always had a close allegiance with the Black Watch in Scotland. Probably just a multi-ethnic Celtic community, I would say, here, where you have a lot of the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh, the English coming together and celebrating various, I wouldn't say various holidays, but various events. St. Patrick's Day Parade obviously being, I would say, the largest of the events, for sure. And just a very close bond, I think, between the Scots and the Irish community that probably wasn't there in the beginning, but developed over time and now is very cemented here in Montreal. There's a great relationship in between the two. We've been involved for well over 75, probably 85 years anyways, in the parade. Probably just a nice thank you from the United Irish Society, saying all the support over the years. That tends to be what most people will tell me from the United Irish Society, and most Scots will say that have been in the parade for a very long time, that it's just a nice thank you in between the communities, really. We have several large events a year. The St. Patrick's Day Parade obviously probably being, I think it is, we could say easily the largest parade that we're in. But we're a couple sets of Irish tunes that will be played throughout the St. Patrick's season, as we call it. We support some of the other communities as well, the Chateauguay Irish community and the Hudson St. Patrick's Day Parade as well.
The Canadian, the Montreal Black Watch are completely different than what we grew up with during the troubles in Belfast, because the Black Watch were like a Scottish regiment who were actually formed in the Highlands in the 18th century to keep an eye out on the Highlanders, and they were actually the only ones who could wear kilts after 1746 and play bagpipes. Anybody else was hung for it, because you weren't allowed to wear a Highland attire, carry weapons, or play Highland music. So the only ones, they were British regiment of Highlanders. But in Belfast they were a Scottish regiment, and a lot of animosity in our area, West Belfast. A lot of the Black Watch were Ranger supporters, bigots in it, so big problems there. It's different than here, people are different here. Black Watch are okay here, I mean, I'm not even saying that. I'm sure there's decent Black Watch in Scotland too, but it's just the reputation in our area, with people getting beat up by them and fighting with them,
That's it?
Yeah.
That is what it is.
But those days hopefully have passed, I'm from a place called Andersonstown. Andy from Andersonstown, in a place called the Glen Road, just West Belfast. First time I came to Montreal was '91. I was living in London at the time, and I came for a visit. I met a lot of the folk here in the Irish community, and ended up coming back to stay here for a couple of years. Ended up with a Quebec woman in Edinburgh. Lived in London for a bit. Went up to Edinburgh for 3 years, playing the music scene there, the folk scene, and then back to Quebec in '96. I was. The first time I was at parade here was, I think it was '92. I just couldn't believe the size of it, compared to what I was used to in Belfast, I mean, I went off 3 hours, I couldn't believe this, and pipe bands and everything, I just never saw that in Belfast, Nothing, when I lived there in the 80s, it was very small, very community-oriented thing in West Belfast, So basically it was a religious feast, you'd go to Mass and you'd wear your shamrock. You go to the cemetery to say hello to the ancestors, and then back to the pub. St. Patrick was a gentleman who came from decent people. Built a church in Dublin town and on it put steeple. Father was a Gallagher, his mother was a Grady. His aunt was on a Shaughnessy, his uncle was a Brady. The Wicklow Hills are very high and so's the hill of Hulser. There's a hill of trees, still much higher than the Hulser. On the top of this high hill, St. Paddy preached a sermon. Drove all the flocks to the box and he ran his full of vermin. The Vale of Vermin's red, dirty vermin monster. Weird thing, a couple of times we played on a float out on the parade, and I couldn't believe like snow and around St. Paddy's, like, you know, we in a blizzard, we stand there freezing trying to play guitar, you know. Yeah, it's pretty mad, you know. Actually, one of the ironic thing was we were on this float with a big effigy of Winston Churchill behind us with a cigar. You know, a great friend of the Irish, as you know. But I did stick a tricolour in a cigar, which was nice. What is Irish? It depends, because coming from Belfast and leaving there in the 1980s, things have changed. I mean, meeting people here who ancestors come over, like my friend Jim here, the Irish American. I guess to me it's anybody with the Celtic blood in them from Ireland, from Hibernia, you know. Basically, it's not just, well, I'm from Ireland, you know. I guess it's an attitude, it's an identity, you know, and something to be proud of, I guess, you know. As you know, it was hard to be proud to be Irish in Belfast, and you had to watch what you said, what you wore even, you know. So it's good to have the freedom to be Irish and be proud of it, you know. So yeah, it kind of it definitely has an attraction for a lot of people who have nothing to do with Irish culture, you know. I guess it's the music, it's just very attractive, you know. Hopefully more young people will take up playing. There's a couple of kids that come along here, a couple of songs that I wrote which are quite poignant. There's one about Grosse Hill I wrote, which was, that really affected me, you know. I went out to Grosse Hill in '93, was taken by the Hibernian Society. We're out in the boat, you know, and it really affected me. Like seeing mass graves with no headstones, it was just like white crosses and furrows of where the bodies were dumped in mass graves, and the sadness of those fever sheds where a lot of people died, you know. So I remember not being able to sleep when I got back from Grosse Hill, and I had to get up and write a couple of words. Because the big Celtic cross, which was erected in 1911, says, "Here lie the children of the Gael." And that's the first couple of words. On a windswept isle east of Quebec, lie the children of the Gael, you know. Well, we were playing O'Carolan tunes. There was like, he died in like 1638 or something, wasn't that right? 1738.
Early 1700s.
1700s, but he was live.
Like mid-1600s.
Yeah, because he would have been alive around 1690, Battle of the Boyne, things like that. He was, you know, he was a blind harpist. And like some of the tunes, there's a tune there, Brian Boru's March. They said it was played at his funeral, like, you know. That's what he fought the Vikings, like, you know. So that's like over 1,000 years old, you know. And people are still playing it, you know. Only thing is the instruments have changed, you know. I mean, guitars and stuff. I mean, O'Carolan played clarsack, small harp, you know. And I mean, I don't even think these things were around then. Not in O'Carolan times, you know. Concertinas and accordions and like the violins, very European thing, you know, Italian. So instrumentation's really changed a lot, and like, people look at me funny when I talk about the Irish bouzouki. Maybe the Irish bouzouki. Oh, there's an Irish bouzouki. It's like a flat back bouzouki, because the Greek ones usually got a bowed around back, you know. But somebody's a flat back. It says, because you can't play bouzouki with a beer belly, you know. You have to have it close to you.
My mother is Irish. My father is English. Was English. He passed away, and her family had been like 7 generations here in Canada. They came over and they settled in a little town called St. Columban up in the north, up in you know, around Mourne Heights, around there, and they had a farm there for years, and they very insulated Irish community. They were farmers, and my grandmother was a fiddler. Yeah, we had a big family. We have a big family. Like it seemed like my mother's side of the family, the O'Rourke's, that's her maiden name. They were kind of they were a large extended family of people of varying, you know, like, so they'd have always these big parties with very Irish type parties, you know, like, and because it's Quebec, you know, there's Uncle Gaston and all that stuff too. Like, so a very nice melange of Quebec's great the way the Irish and the French and the Scots get along, and then, you know, it's really especially through the music, you know, like it's. So those parties were really great, you know. They had discovered it in St. Columban that there was an Irish cemetery, and all the graves had been knocked over and it was lost. Someone just discovered it in the woods. So my cousin and a bunch of people decided that they want, because our family is from there, and they wanted to restore the cemetery. So we had a big sort of a fundraiser thing out at Oscar Peterson to raise money to restore the cemetery, and now it's all restored and it's all the graves are there, like from all those Irish families. They came in looking for land, you know. They wanted to find good places to grow crops. You know, so little did they know with the winter that was coming, I'd imagine they figured it out pretty quick. But, you know, like, so they'd all go and they in these rural communities, it would be all Irish. I started out playing as, I'm a jazz musician, and I played in rock bands and funk bands and all. And then my friend, Kirk Megecki, who's passed away, he was on Green Linnet Records in a band called Aurealis. He's Scottish. Well, a fellow, Brendan Nolan and Liam Callahan, who were playing at the Old Dublin pub, said, you know, Dave, why don't you try some of this Irish stuff, you know? And I said, of course I'm familiar with it. I've grown up with it. I know, I just never really played it on. And I think it was Brendan Nolan, or maybe Kirk, who gave me a Matt Malloy record. And I was blown away. I mean, you know, I did this stupid jazzer thing where I'm transcribing these, and like it's black with notes, you know. I'm going, wait, there's got to be a right way to this. So I just started listening and figuring it out. But it was quite a learning curve. You know, you see a room full of people, some of them who I don't think they've ever seen the Irish thing, or they don't really know what it is. They see like a fiddler and a flute and a guitar, and then we have a room full of people jumping up and down and standing on tables, much to the bouncer's chagrin. but you know, it's incredible. I always find it amazing, and I tell my friends, you know, it's, you know, the energy we get out of that room. You're real. You know, we're musicians. It's nice to be a musician and actually be making people feel good playing music. When you're doing a concert, everybody's quiet and hush, hush, and there's something kind of nice about having someone just scream at you in the middle of a song. Kind of makes you laugh. Apparently, they used to do that in Mozart's day at his operas. They used to just scream out from the audiences. You know, I think we get a lot of that. We finished playing the night before at 3, and we had to start again the next morning at 7:30, and then play basically all day and all night. You know, like, it's just a blur, the parade, you know, like you sort of, sometimes you're breaking, you watch a bit of it go by. My biggest thing with the parade is trying to get across it to get to my gigs, because I live in the Highlands, so in varying days I'm going, oh my God. But the guys working and I'm going, I got to go over there because I'm playing in that pub down there.
1999 was my first parade, and our meeting was at McKibben's Irish Pub on the second floor. So when they had called out my name, Paddy McCann, everyone was looking for Paddy McCann, and they're all looking above my head, and I'm poking up my hand like it's me. And they said, wow, it's a female. And I was probably about the third female marshal. Since then, we're probably running half and half. But I had some great mentors those first few years. It was pretty crazy. And back then, we were like 30 marshals running the same size of a parade. So we were really running. Marshals, once they turn on St. Catherine Street, are all by themselves. And people forget that some days. We are radioed, but the identity with that armband, and it's in the Irish flag colors, so it's really easy to spot. And then we know, okay, that's a comrade where we can immediately go for help. We say we're 100, but usually it's about 75 running around really fast. they're just the greatest people to work with. And no one, I mean, we all have to take it very seriously. There's a lot of security issues that we need to deal with, but we do it with fun, we do it with joy, and they're my Irish family, which is just so great to be a part of. And the faith I have in the Marshals, people always say, you must be so stressed out. And I say, no, not at all, because I know how good the Marshals are, and I've done all the paperwork and put it on paper, and they execute what I have done. If I've done my job right, then everything should just run really smooth, because, I mean, ultimately I'm an event coordinator, right? So the faith I have in all those Marshals to put the parade together is, they're just the greatest people to work with.
Well, I came here from Dublin, Ireland 40 years ago. Yeah, we came over for 2 years, and my husband's job at the time, and we planned to go back. So I wasn't really excited to start Irish dancing or anything, because I wanted to see Canada. But then we, like everything else, we made friends with all the Gaelic footballers, and my husband played a bit of Gaelic football, and I got involved with the music, and I used to dance at parties and that sort of thing. It was my long lost youth. And then a lot of the friends then used to ask me to teach their kids to dance, and that's how I ended up eventually teaching. We ended up staying here in Canada, and then our son was born, and then our daughter was born, and bought a house, and that was it. The jig, I think came from, originally, I think from France. They danced the la gigue. I think that's where that came from. But there's all sorts of theories about where it actually originated from. But there was a lot, like in Ireland, the dancing masters travelled all around Ireland teaching in different villages. That was what they did. Like if they would pass on the dances in the various towns and villages. And then they dance at the crossroads, Céilís at the crossroads, way back in the 1900s in Ireland. The dancing masters just went around. And the sean-nós dancing in Ireland is like step dancing, very low to the ground, no high kicks, which is a style all of its own too, and that's still very popular around the country, villages in Ireland, yeah. But the dancing has evolved now, like since the onset of Riverdance. Irish dancing is now on the world stage now. It's much more, what's the word I can sing? It's much more, it's danced by all nationalities now. Like it's worldwide. Since Lord of the Dance and Riverdance. It used to be, when we first started in Montreal, was mostly children of Irish descent, took classes from us, and now it's all nationalities. Once they get the style, like Irish dancing, unlike other dances, you can't just take a course in Irish dancing and then know it. It's not like just learning a step. You know, it's mastering a style. So it takes about 5 years to actually get the whole style of the Irish dancing. Starting in soft shoes, and when you get the whole technique of crossing your feet and staying up on your toes and keeping your arms straight in soft shoes, then we introduce hard shoes. And we start off in hard shoes with the very traditional dances, like traditional hornpipe, traditional jig, just to get the beat, just so they can get the rhythm and the basic beat. And then from then, there's a lot of syncopation then. Then there's a lot more contemporary steps nowadays. Like, again, it's become more athletic than it used to be. It used to be much more folk, where it was looser and not as. Now it's very athletic. Like they have to be in great shape to really master a lot of the steps that are taught now with high kicks and all of that. The physiotherapists do well with their dancing school. We have a huge lot of children wanting to be on the float. So what we do is we take those who want to be on it, and then we draw 16 dancers out of a hat, and they get to go on the float. Everybody wants to be on that float dancing Catherine Street. I've never actually seen the parade myself. I've always been on the float for 30 odd years. One of these years I'll stand on the side. No, we do a lot of recreational dancing. We do shows like this month now we're dancing in a lot of senior residences. Like next Monday I won't be here, we'll be at the Fulford Residences in Catherine Street. We do a lot of senior homes and we do a lot of hospital shows as well as some corporate shows. Like we're dancing tonight, some of our older dancers are down at KO at a corporate reception down there today. We have about 32 shows just in this stretch of 2 or 3 weeks.
It started in 1931. It started in Point St. Charles by a group of men that were, they just wanted, back in those days, the times were tough. So people were having trouble with food and that. So these, if I recall correctly, I think there were 6 members that started. I believe there was 2 Irish, 2, if I'm not mistaken, 2 Frenchmen and 2 Italians. They started in the back garage on Center Street, on the center in Richardson, right near the Polish Church on Center Street. We benefit the Point Football League, Verdun Football League, LaSalle Football League. We donate to these 3. We also donate to the Montreal Children's Hospital, St. Justin's Hospital. Just to name a few, Labrador House in Griffintown, which is a men's place to go and have a lunch. Old Blurry Mission, Chez Dory, the Women's Shelter. Anything to do with and if there's a disaster, then someone in our area has a fire and they can't afford to buy, we'll try to help. That's our mandate. Our club it's an Irish association, but we have everything in it. We have French, we have Italian, we have English, we have Irish. We did have one member was Lebanese. Our poor friend passed away. So that's basically what we are. It doesn't matter what nationality you are or anything, as long as you want to become a member and you're accepted by membership, and that they know when they're asked to become a membership, that's what our mandate is, to help underprivileged. My grandparents come from County Wexford. And when they came over here, oh man. I remember my grandfather telling me the history of Verdun. When he first came to Canada, I guess he must have lived in Verdun. The main street in Verdun was Verdun Avenue, not Wellington Street, not LaSalle Boulevard. That was swamp in his day. Well, we didn't have nothing. Growing up in my day, I won't say my age. I'm a little older. I'm a senior. But growing up in my day, you had Goose Village, what we call Goose Village, Victoriatown on the map, and then Griffintown and Point. So that was my area that I grew up in. So we, quite a few of us came up through that area, and we didn't do too bad today. So personally, I'm very proud to be a member of the Éireann Club because of what we do for society. That's my mandate.
We have an internal league structure in Montreal now with 3 internal teams made up of names of old Irish neighbourhoods in Montreal. We have the Verdun Vikings, Griffintown Gales and the Goose Village Blackrocks. So there are 3 internal teams, and outside of that we play tournaments against teams in Quebec City, Ottawa, Halifax, St. John's and Toronto. Indoor we play in Cornea and the Dome and Loyola. We rent the space there for internal games. We're reliant on local players as well. I'd say 60-65% of the players would be Irish and the rest would be local Canadians that have taken up the game in the last few years. We're hoping to run a coaching program for 6 weeks starting in May for kids, mainly in the old Irish neighbourhoods. So the plan would be to actually, Éireann Sports would help us fund that and get the permit for the field. We had the very first World Games of Gaelic football happened this year in Abu Dhabi. Don't know if you heard about that, but there was 28 teams and 9 international divisions. So every division, South Africa, Argentina, the US, Australia, Asia, Europe, Canada, were all there at this tournament in Abu Dhabi. Here we had 9 players from Montreal. We had 2 men's teams from Canada, so 9 players from Montreal represented on that, and so 2 men's teams of 12 players each and 1 ladies team. Really well organised tournament over there. I was very impressed with it. And it's great to see players from South Africa and Argentina getting so into it and being enthusiastic. I mean, the ladies Canadian team won the tournament actually. They won the ladies division, so we had a very tough standard. The standard was very high over there, but we got the semi-final beaten in the semi-final by Europe. So we have a member that's been here, I think, 53 years, and he's done every single parade since he's been here, and it's great to have this guy still involved. I mean, he's one of our founder members at this stage. But pretty much we march in the parade every year. This year we tried to make it a bit more expansive. We actually invested in, instead of goalposts, to have a proper game on the street. So hopefully 1 or 2 many people joining in from the side trying to play some football, but it didn't work out.
I've lived in Point St. Charles. I was born in Point St. Charles. I was educated up to grade 7 here in St. Gabriel's School. I'm 83 years old now. And anyhow, starting off after I got finally out of school and went to another school, my dad was a politician in a Point. So that's the way we were brought up. In Ottawa, we met Mackenzie King was the first one with his dog. And so consequently, I know most of the people who are there. Justin Trudeau, the Sinclairs were there. Paul Martin, he's still around, and he always comes if he's here in Montreal. I've lived a very different life. After grade 7 here, I was a boarder for 4 years in a convent of my own choice. This is what I wanted to be. And just to show how we were brought up. And it was a convent in Saint Laurent. It's a Saint Laurent now, it's a Cégep. But the first night, and I saw all these beds, and everybody sleeping in one room. So I phoned my mother, and I said, you better send someone for me, because I don't like it here. And she said, well, I hope that you find something you like, because you're there for 4 years. So that was the end of that little bit. We were all home till we got a job. Well, even then, until we got married. You were expected to stay home, and I don't think we contributed anything to it. You know, it wasn't money-wise. It was just that. And we learned another thing. We learned. It's funny. Gosh, it's funny. We learned it didn't matter what you were, what your skin color, what you spoke, as long as we could understand you. You know, never even asked what they were. We went to the synagogue when we were invited to the synagogue. We went to the Polish church when we were invited to the Polish church. Went to Ukrainian church. We went all over the place. So we consequently got to know, not know, but to be aware of the other things that. So we were brought up not to make choices or conditions, you know. You choose a person because they're a good person, and that's it. Doesn't matter what they are.
There was a thing called the jaunting cart, which is a very traditional piece of the Griffintown, the St. Anne's, and a lot of nieces and nephews I have in the family were offered by Bill O'Donnell to go on the jaunting cart, which was, I think it's over 100 years. It's as long as the parade almost has been in, so it's like a horse buggy. And certain family members would always call, could I get my child on there? It's been tradition. I think we all had a ride on it, so it's pretty cool. So that's was my first involvement with the parade. Well, actually, my brother Jack is one. He's been a chief deputy marshal for a number of years. My son Danny's taken over his position. Jack has a family now. He got a little busy, so he stepped aside. Comes to the parade every year, helps out as a VP, but Danny's taken over. I've followed my son's footsteps in a lot of ways, more than my father's, more of my brothers, I guess. But those guys sort of triggered the whole family getting involved. And my son Sean now is a banquet chair, and Brandon is a marshal. So very Catholic family. Most of us went to church for the most part. We were forced to at certain ages, like all of us do. But we've left the district though since about 23 years. We live in Verdun. We should be going to St. Thomas more, but St. Gabriel's is just it's my home. I helped organize a golf tournament with a committee of 4 people, including my wife, Robin Roberts and Mary Diano. And Dave O'Neill started it, but he basically gave it up, and we've been running it for the last 7 years. We raised a few $1,000s each year. It's just something people do. It's contagious. I love doing it. It doesn't take much work. People, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's fun. If you keep like I said, I like keeping things fun. People show up. If people show up, I'm happy. That's what it's all about, and get money for the church.
In recent years, Point St. Charles became the centre of the Irish population, covering Griffintown, Goose Village and Verdun. St. Gabriel's Church became the heart of the community centre.
And so as a people born from an Irish background, a particular cultural heritage, we ourselves, whose ancestors in many cases, such as my own, were welcomed as strangers, were welcomed and offered something to eat, were welcomed and were offered shelter, were welcomed and were offered clothing when we were naked. We are called in turn to be signs of goodness ourselves, and to contribute who we are, including our faith, to the best of our society.
Today, let's all pray for a safe and happy parade, and also to be blessed with great weather. See you all next Sunday. God bless.
It was freezing. Oh my God, it was so cold. However, you know, people are really hardy in Montreal, and they came out in droves again. I'd say we were at 400,000 again last year, even though it was like minus 30. It was awfully cold.
The bagpipes being a mouth-blown instrument, saliva will tend to drip down on the blowpipe, and one of my pipers, actually several of my pipers that day, had a very small icicle kind of dripping off the chanter, which is where the melody is coming out of, and they couldn't believe that, and mouths almost frozen to the blowpipe, like literally. So that was probably those kind of memories you want to put in the back of your mind. They're not the ideal conditions to play in, but you still, you keep going as best as you can.
I walk the parade. I've been walking the parade since I was a kid. My mother's parents came directly from Ireland. As a matter of fact, when I walk in the parade with my shillelagh, that belonged to my grandparents. It's something I look forward to every year, no matter what the weather is. Cold. Last year was very cold. The only thing is I always make the mistake. I wear these white little cotton mitts. When you're holding the shillelagh, your fingers at the end are frozen. I always say to myself, I'm going to put a pair of good mitts over and put the white on top. But I never do. Never do.
And I mean, the end of the day, our feet are sore. You don't want to take off your boots because they're totally swollen. It's freezing cold. But just getting back and having the wind-burnt face that we end up with, and the laughs, because I mean, from every single angle, a marshal has seen something different on the parade. So we bring back all those stories to the table, and you know what it's like being around the Irish. There's always a crack, and it's just good fun.
But one of the things that I think strikes a lot of the newcomers in the band is to hear the crowd cheering, and it actually drowns out the sound of the pipes and the drums. That's kind of a remarkable thing that doesn't happen every day to us. So some of the young guys, when we finish the parade, will have this stunned, oh my God, look, when we finish the parade, did you hear that back at that corner? And the crowd does get loud, I mean, which is it's a very nice feeling. They're cheering for you, they're cheering for the parade, but it's a very nice compliment that the city, I find generally people tend to pay on the day.
You turn that corner, and at first, I'll be honest with you, and I was kind of shy. They don't think I'm shy, but I am. You saw, what am I waving? And you turn that corner, you see people out there just to watch you march, and not just the individual, but the whole thing. You just get caught up in it, and it's like that. Like I go back to the year I was Chief Reviewing Officer, walking behind Paul Loftus, who was a Grand Marshal, and Bill Hurley was Irishman of the Year that year. And we had we just bonded. The girls bonded. It was like one big party troop after another. But when you turn that corner and just walk, and that day there was more than, I'm sure there was about 700,000 people. And it was just like throbs, and they're friendly. There's no rowdiness. Well, there probably is rowdiness somewhere down the line, but just friendly. It's just, and everybody's smiling. And I think that's why people love Irish pubs. We're always smiling. I have a bad reputation for fighters. I think we're more lovers than fighters. I think it's working with all the volunteers who are so dedicated. It blew me away. What really opened my eyes was I was picked as Chief Reviewing Officer in 2012, was it? The warmest parade, by the way, of history. I met a lot of nice people within there. I knew them, but I didn't know them well. And they have titles, and the work that they do blew me out of the water. All volunteers, the time, and now I'm doing the same, but it's a pleasure. It's fun. There's times, there's meetings, arguments a little bit once in a while, like anything else, but generally speaking, everybody backs everybody up, and it's a fun thing. It's a lot of work, but you just saw jump on that bandwagon rather than sit on the sidelines and watch. Now, we want people to watch the parade, but we need people to run it. So we're going to keep doing that.
Ever since I was a little girl, I would go, and I've been there all the time. When I had my own corner, which I went back religiously every year, and still ran into the same people, because in Montreal, once you have a corner, you just go back to the same corner. And I would wonder, how do you choose the Queen and Court? That just wasn't in my circles at the time. And I moved away for 10 years, and the only thing I missed about the city was that parade. So to be in this position as a volunteer, it's an absolute honor. And this is my 17th parade working it. So when I turn onto St. Catherine Street and you see the joy in the citizens of Montreal for this parade, my heart's exploding. And I think every single marshal feels exactly the same way, even though we've run our butts off all morning long to put it all together, and we've been working for months to do it. That, first flag and the first smile, and seeing little girls and boys with my first St. Patrick's parade on their snowsuits, it's like, wow, this is why we work so hard. It is that much fun. We have a bio document that we put together. Then we have a parade book lineup, which we call the SGB, the Stupid Green Book. And the SGB is what all the marshals have on parade day. It's a green book with the full lineup, and we carry it in our pocket. And by the time the end of the day, they're completely dog-eared, rolled around, because you're trying to hide them when you get onto St. Catherine Street. But I have pretty well everyone that all the parades I've worked, because they've been souvenirs, which is a riot, you know. There's scribbles and everything, but that's the way the parade is.
All set? Good morning. Parade day, finally here, hooray. First off, there's several changes, and I'm sure you heard in the news, you know, people are backing out, but actually only 2 did, so not to worry. Let's go page by page. You'll also notice that there are no section marshals, etc. at the headers, because after 90 minutes I gave up and I deleted everything. Okay, the very first change, section A, color party. Scouts pulled out, so Girl Guides will be carrying our flags. Go girls! Go girls! Okay, moving along. Section D. Section head Jerry Maddox with Tom Gruber, Ryan Farren, and Chloe Whitten. Jerry, no changes. Section E. Section head Jeff Murphy with Matthew Cote, Charlotte McLeod, and Brent Nolan. And everybody, it was Charlotte's birthday yesterday. What a great way to have a party. Yay, Charlotte! Golf cart people called Elizabeth yesterday to say in these cold temperatures, sometimes they don't work. And then I reminded Elizabeth 15 years ago we used to walk anyways. So we didn't have golf carts. But I'm going to put Mike McCambridge in charge of this. Please be respectful and sign everything out. And all drivers, you should have a driver's license, right? So that's a good thing.
Get your hand warmers. It's going to be another cold day, unfortunately. And we appreciate everybody showing up again, because we wouldn't be able to do this parade without you guys. And I would just like anybody who has a mind to, we'll say a quick prayer for to have a safe and happy parade.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our temptation. Not into temptation. We're in sync here. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Patrick, pray for us. Amen. Thank you.
Oh, I guess I should have done that.
We have our radio people that have been helping us for the last few years, and this is our communication on the street. This is our lifeline between each other, because once the marshals are all spread out, we're completely up and down the street. We barely even see each other. And then we have the ham radio folks, who are the shortwave radio, and they actually record everything that gets said. And we didn't even realize this till this year. They produced this the last several years of written communication, and I'm like, McCann said this, and I'm like, I actually remember those conversations. Once you start to read it again, you're like, oh yeah, that happened on that parade 3 years ago. So it's such an important, critical part of our safety to be in communication, not only with here at Patrol, but this also is the liaison with all of the police students out there and the real police on the streets as well. So
we've got the little pockets, little hot pockets all up for our boots and our mitts, graciously knitted for us. It's a little weird, it's a little crazy right now, because you know, I barely got a week of sleep last night. Like, I felt like a kid getting ready for Christmas. Except there's the adult part of me going, you know, if you go to sleep right now, you're getting 5 hours of sleep. 4.5, 4, but it's the adrenaline, just the excitement. Like, this really, it's crazy. Yeah, it's a little nippy outside, but, and I'm going to regret saying this, but it didn't feel that bad when I first left my apartment this morning, so. Sorry, yeah. So we've got a bunch of sweaters, coats, and the capes are pretty thick, so I'm hoping for the best. we're hoping for the best, but right now nothing's really a guarantee.
It was opened in 1993, so it'd be 23 years, I guess, and started off with seating, I think, 75 people downstairs, just the downstairs area, and expanded to a little over 500 now.
Well, it's always we always play for like Irish breakfast for McKibben's pubs. So we're starting basically parade day. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We play a few sets, then move on to another McKibben's pub, and again we play in the afternoon. And then we end up finishing at 3 next morning. So it's a hell of a schedule. I'm not getting any younger, if you know what I mean.
I was in the parade 22 years ago, and we came back here after. And it was the first year of Hurley's. Kind of new, not that busy after the parade. Got in, drinking, had a great time, and since then I've never been to the parade. I'm just too busy here, so I don't even know how it goes.
And then on the parade day is the day that is the whole city. It's become a Montreal just a thing. Everybody does it. Like it's really it's quite an and it's even the police turn all their blind eye to all the drinking and everything on the. It's interesting because it is that old everybody's Irish. Like it's you're going. Well, not really, but it's okay. You can go for it.
It's a different animal. If you look at sales of Hurley's over the year, it goes in peaks and peaks, and then St. Pat's just peaks right up. It's so different. We rent a refrigerated truck out back for the kegs. Fridge is stocked, hallway stocked. Man, Guinness alone, I think it's in the close to 100. It's insane. It's insane. Parade day, Sunday day, we open at 8. We do a breakfast till about 11, and then we have to do the switch over. Everyone goes up to the parade. We have time to sort the bar out, get plastic going, maybe remove a bit of furniture, a little bit of furniture just to make walkways, and a little bit up. During the parade, people start to come down, and then we got a lineup going.
It's like the lineup here is out to the, it's not it just I don't know how it's become this massive. I know the Irish community is strong here, but it's just like this massive sort of cultural event here. I don't know how much parade day is so much a cultural event. I think it has everybody likes a parade and everybody likes to drink. So it's like you throw the two together. I guess I can't swear. It's a shit show, It's just incredible. Like it's people falling on the stage. We have bouncers standing in front, kegs in front of us. They're coming through the windows. It's like the Attack of the Zombies. It's just like, and we're on the stage, and believe me, on parade day by 11 at night, we're pretty tired, and everybody's screaming at us all night long. It's just you're going, oh my God, this is crazy. That's when we have a few drinks, and when you have a nice day. Like when it's sunny, it's the best. Like they've had them, and then the police don't really hassle anybody. So it's a good vibe on the street. I've never really seen any ugliness, even here. Like maybe over all the years, I've only seen one sort of minor altercation in the music room. I've never seen like fights or anything really. And it's really surprising because there's a lot of people and they're liquored up. It always amazes me. Well, no, they all seem to be getting along pretty good.
I'm so excited. This parade, you saw how many people are in the room back there, and we do it every year because it's this much fun. And since Friday afternoon when we had this big party called the Mingle, the energy in that room just drives up everybody's energy. So yeah, today's going to be an awesome day.
It's a quarter to 11, so it's over 2 hours. I'm here on the corner, freezing at minus 20. Feeling good, feeling cold. But so far it's good. The turn-up is still not completely there, but they still have an hour and a half to go, so to come in. We're waiting for them, and the parade will be pretty safe and sound. So we look forward to complete that part.
So we just took a coffee break, which was needed because the life was leaving my body and it started to come back once I got into the coffee shop. But so now it's back to work. People in Ireland, if I told them how the temperature was, they wouldn't believe me. And I was standing in for 8 hours, they wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, I still have to get pinned up and things, but overall, yeah, we're ready to go. I'm missing a few things because I'm answering 100 questions back there because the parade's all up in my head. So I have to communicate every detail that comes up. And the emails this week, you know. Have a great parade, guys. So, okay, that's not me either.
So, yeah, happy Parade Day.
Korean Day?
Yeah, Korean Day. No, Parade Day. Parade. St. Paddy's Parade today. The oldest one in North America. So, santé, tout le monde.
Say oldest or coldest?
Sláinte. Cheers. Big ears. Yay! Keep it going. Papa Jameson over there. So we'll keep the music going. We'll do a couple of weird tunes here for you.
Every single one without the other, and the people start to wonder when it's Mary or a mother, and the mothers up together, I'll be garden, I'll be married. Mary Mac's mother's making Mary Mac, marry me. My mother's making me marry Mary Mac. Gonna marry Mary, so my Mary can take care of me. I'll be feeling married when I marry Mary Mac.
Okay, parade is now started. Let's go.
Was a gentleman, he came from decent people. He built a church in Dublin, turning on it put steeple. Father was a Gallagher, his mother was a Brady, and his aunt was on the Shockness, seen his uncle and O'Grady. The Wicklow hills are very high, and so's a hill of Hoser. There's a hill much higher, still much higher than the Boser. On the top of this high hill, St. Paddy preached a sermon. Well, he drove the frogs into the bogs and he banished all the vermin. Not the mile of Burns Isle with the dirty vermin musters. There St. Pat put his 4 foot down and he murdered them in clusters. The frogs went hop, the toads went plop, slap, dash until the water. The snakes committed suicide to save themselves from slaughter. 900,000 reptiles blew each arm with sweetest courses. He dined on them and killed the Lewis soups and second courses. All the blind worms in the grass disgusted all the nation. It was down to hell, the holy spell, and it changed our situation. No wonder that the Irish boys should be so gay and frisky. And St. Patrick taught them that as well as making whiskey. No wonder that the saint himself should understand distilling, for his mommy kept a shaving shop in the town of Enniskillen. If I was so fortunate as to be back in Munster, I'd be bound into that ground and never once would stir, sir. There's St. Paddy planted turf, cabbages and praties, pigs galore, McGrath store, all the boys and ladies. And if I was so fortunate as to be back in Munster, I'd be bound into that ground and never once would stir, sir. There's St. Paddy planted turf, cabbages and praties, pigs galore, McGrath store, altar boys and ladies.
spent.
Yeah. Exhausted.
Empty. Will be a gas thing, will be on the E and maybe below, but that was a very, very unusual and fun thing to do today, to be part of.
I'm still thinking about it. I mean, I'm going to wait until we have a few drinks. It was a great experience, though. The hardest part for me was there was a speaker system traveling along, playing out this music that was very, very easy to dance to, like Happy by Will Ferrell. And I could move along a little bit, but like I didn't want to be that YouTube video of that Martian who went crazy so I had to like keep it in check a bit. That was
I let it go with people.
Yeah, you didn't really keep it in check at all. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, I held my breath till that last band went down the street, but I'm feeling good with all the controversy we've had to deal with over the last 2 weeks. Thankfully, everyone in Montreal ignored it as well, and the crowds were thick in some areas. It was wonderful. And now I'm feeling it. I'm tired now.
Yeah.
It's a good day. It's a good feeling, though. But I didn't see too many things that were off. Did you?
No, the Vikings were great.
The Vikings were
cool.
amazing.
They were amazing.
Did you catch any of that?
Did you see them? They were.
That was so cool.
They were amazing. They were animated and they kept going all the way through. You know, the Navy band was the first time we've had the Navy band, so they were great. You know, they also sang. Not only did they play, but they sang. We're like, wow,
so cool.
they can
really
sing.
Awesome.
You know, and
I think I'll sleep in tomorrow. Empty the truck back into the storage locker. Go to work, and then hope that they don't fire me. The other thing too, when you go in there, you see, you know, we've got generations working this parade, and we all bring in our kids, and it's not going to last unless our kids get involved. And
both of our daughters have marshaled with us, so which is kind of fun. So it's, but now they're playing, right? So they're musicians. So and both Patty and I we've been to parades, we've been in parades, and then we've worked a parade. 3 very different aspects of a parade. And I have to tell you, when I watch a parade, I tend to, oh wow, this could happen, this could go wrong, you know? It's a whole other aspect, but it's a great group of people, and they volunteer all of their time. And that's wonderful to see. Everybody wants to continue the Celtic heritage, and in Montreal it's very huge, and we're very thankful for that.
On February 17th, our blue flag was raised at Pascal Reed. Our marshals are now ready to fold the flag.
That was my 64th parade.
64?
I was 6 years old for my first parade, and I remember it because my father took out his flask and put scotch on the knees of all the cubs because we had short pants and high socks, but nothing in the middle, right? And he sacrificed his booze.
That's
now,
love.
For an Irish guy, that's serious.
That's love.
That is serious, okay? This one was at police headquarters.
I had a wonderful time.
She gave
absolutely great time.
And knowing she was there, no one came to protest the parade. Because she was going to go down with this cane and fix them. Arrange them.
Because it's not wood, so it hurts a little bit more.
And it doesn't bend.
Yeah.
No.
Right, like many women I know, there's a way they go, right? It was so cold that the bands played faster.
Especially the first band.
The Black Watch?
Yeah.
Black Watch.
Oh, God, they moved.
They went quick and they didn't play much.
They moved like hell.
Well, those Scottish guys, you know, on a windy day.
No.
On a windy day,
it gets ugly.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's, we wonder sometimes.
What are we doing?
Yeah, she was the 911 queen.
No.
It's the room where they do the 911.
The 911 guys were seated in front of me. They were relative. They had 2 calls.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow. So it was cold.
It was cold.
It was cold.
It was very cold.
The parade was good, and all the way through, I think I said it was cold. Richard would say, Ken, how are you liking the parade? And I would say, Richard, it's still cold. It's cold.
I had a warmer on the palms of my hand. I couldn't get my fingers down far enough to use it. So I'm sitting there trying to be cheerful and going, oh, I was sure the pain on my face
And
was.
by the end of it, he was wrapped up like this. And here I had the book like that. And I'm reading him a bedtime story.
And I'm just BSing along, blah, 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 blah. And he's reading, okay. And they came into the parade in 1996. And before then, they were before here. Then the other thing, I sure can. Yeah, let's go.
Next. Who's next?
See the guy with the funny hat? See the guy? Oh, what a time.
That was 3 hours of just fun. It was cold, like I said.
It was cold and
but it was fun. And the time passed. Because before I knew it, it was 2:30 and the parade was over.
I could see this guy walk up to us and look and go, oh my God, the two frozen bunnies.
But no, quite seriously, it's the best experience you could ever have. Even if just doing the selection evening, I'd done it 3 times before I'd actually been put on the court. And honestly, yes, it sounds intimidating to speak in front of 500 people. And it's way less intimidating when you know those 500 people want so badly for you to do well. They'll laugh at whatever stupid joke you make.
Yeah, and I think, it's a huge time commitment. I mean, personally, I'm in law school. Catherine's,
doing my
second degree.
Me too.
I mean, it is my second degree too, and it's just though what you're gonna get out of this experience is so much more than anything you'll ever learn in a classroom.
I had a phone call, just prior to parade, Department of Homeland Security, because of all the VIPs in the parade, and I hang up the phone and I'm thinking, I'm just Patty McCann and I'm talking to, the security detail for all the VIPs of the country. I'm like, that's bizarre.
I will do, yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Take
Ray.
care. Take care.
Bye,
Safe drive
Patricia.
home.
Bye, Vivi.
Safe drive.
Bye. Good night, Paul.
See you. Talk to you soon. Take care. Sorry, Ambassador.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. We know the ambassador of Ireland on a first name basis.
That's it.
Bye, Ray. How cool is that?
Yeah.
It was a great parade.
Great parade, long season, but nice to be over and depressed that it's over.
Yeah, when I was up at head table there and I'm looking around thinking like I really genuinely love all these people in the room. And I'm like, wow, it's a real bummer because we've been seeing each other every week for the last 2 months.
And I can't wait to get away from them.
Well, yes and no.
And then it lasts a couple of days and the phone doesn't ring and it's like, nobody wants to talk to us anymore, right?
Or yesterday's news.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which is good. It was good, right? Because on Monday, you and I were chatting, and I'm like, I'm glad we're yesterday's news. The parade went off perfectly, and that's what we wanted. We want to be yesterday's news.
Sláinte.
Oh, Sláinte, yeah, it's the same thing in Scots Gaelic as well. Sláinte va.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. Happy St. Pat's.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. Happy St. Patrick's Day.